Today we're doing Jerome's Introduction to Latin, Chapter 5, Exercises Key. All right, so Chapter 5 is on the present system of third conjugation, third IO, and fourth conjugation verbs. And that imperfect tense, you'll notice, is formed the exact same way. You just start with the first principal part, drop the O, add the ba, all the conjugations, and then your personal endings. It's the future that's different. Instead of having bo, bis, bit, bimus, bitis, bunt, we're going to have am, ace, et, amus, etis, ent. All right. Moving into the Lacuna set, we'll start to see the variety of different translations we can use for the imperfect tense, especially. So number one, ago, I lead or do or drive. Number two, you will do, ages. Number three, audiebat, he, she, or it was hearing. That's the regular old past imperfect. It's got that progressive sense, but there's a variety of other possibilities for the imperfect tense. There's what's called the conative imperfect, from the Latin verb conor, which means to try. And that would be he, she, or it tried to hear. Then there's the inceptive or inchoative imperfect, which is he, she, or it began to hear. And then you've got that habitual or iterative, which is he, she, or it kept on hearing or used to hear. Right? So you can always say was verbing for the imperfect tense, but you can say he, she, or it was hearing, used to hear, kept on hearing, began to hear, or even tried to hear. Number four, we will hear, audiemos. Number five, audient, they will hear. Number six, they will learn. Right? There's a variety of words that we can use for learn. In this chapter, we're saying disquemos, right? So let's go back to the vocab list and we'll see cognosco, sorry, not disquemos, cognosquemos. Cognosco is our verb for learn here. It means actually to come to know. And it's got that inchoative sense, just like the inchoative imperfect. But this verb is fundamentally inchoative because it has this SC right here, the inchoative infix. I said disco a minute ago, which is another inchoative verb that means to learn. Cognosco. So in the perfect tense, cognovi, which we'll learn later, I have come to know means I know. And sometimes this verb in the Vulgate is used interchangeably with nosco. Sometimes there's a distinction made with cognosco, which is to recognize. All right, so they will learn cognoscent. Number seven, comprehendent. They will understand, or they will seize or arrest. You see over here, we're starting to get a lot of verbs that have different meanings. Prehendo or prendo in the modern languages is that grasping image. So I was arresting, comprehendebam. Number nine, dicebamos, we were saying. Number 10, we used to make, faciebamos. Number 11, facietis, you plural will make, you plural will do. Now for number 12, we have a sentence, they will send wine to their friends. And the trick with these sentences, when you look at them, as when you do the compositions, is to cut them up. Find out what groups of English words will be translated with single Latin words. So they will send mittent, mittent. They will send wine, vinum mittent, to their friends. Now here, because there's actually motion toward the friends, we don't want the dative case for an indirect object, although you can get away with that. Because of the motion, we want to say ad amicos vinum mittent. Ad amicos vinum mittent. All right, number 13, mittebas vinum. You were sending wine. You kept on sending wine. You used to send wine. You began to send wine. Number 14, we were sending wine with friends. Cum amicis vinum mittebamos. Cum amicis vinum mettebamus. Number 15, veniet cum ministris. He will come with servants or with ministers. Number 16, he sends ministers who fill the jugs. Ministros mittit, qui, what did I use for jugs here? Sorry, I just need to check. Probably amphora or, no, hydria, I think is the word, right? Hydria, right? Or is it not in this chapter at all? Maybe I have to start over. Well, it's in the beginning of the chapter, and it's in the next sentence anyway, so let's just pick up hudria there. So he sends ministers who fill the jugs, ministros mittit, qui hudrias implent. Now number 17, ministris qui implebant hudrias credit. He trusts the ministers who were filling the jugs. Number 18, he was trusting his friends. Amicis credebat. Amicis credebat. Notice that, like ministris in number 17, amicis is dative because credo takes a dative complement when it means to trust or believe in instead of an accusative direct object. Right? You can believe that the ministers are filling the jugs. Then they would be accusative and the verb would be infinitive. You could say, credit, he believes, ministros hudrias implere. But we'll come to more of those later. Number 18, he was trusting his friends, amicis credit. Sorry, credebat, he was trusting. Number 19, filios tenebrae comprehendunt. The darkness arrests the sons or the children, or the shadows arrest or seize the sons or children. Number 20, we will not trust the sons of the shadow. Filiis tenebrarum non credemus. Filiis tenebrarum non credemus. All right, that's the Lacuna set. Let's go through the readings now. Qui est de terra est, et de terra dicit. He who is of the earth and speaks of the earth. Number 2, et audiebat et videbat quod testimonium sancti discipuli credebat. He heard and saw that he believed the testimony of the holy disciple. Notice here, credebat is taking an accusative direct object, right? Which does happen sometimes, right? But he entrusted, it could also mean he entrusted the testimony of the holy disciple. Number 3, qui accipit testimonium discipulorum dicet super Deo. He who receives the testimony of the disciples will speak about God. And this is strictly in the classical sense, not a right use of the preposition super. Classical Latin would have preferred the preposition de for about God. Over God is what it says. Number 4, quos enim mittet Deus verba Dei dicent. For those whom God will send will say the words of God, or will speak God's words. Number 5, dicent quia Deus verus est. They will say that God is true. Now here again, we have an indirect statement. I gave you an example of one earlier with an accusative plus infinitive. But this is a very common way of expressing indirect statements in the Vulgate. And it even happens in classical Latin, although it's very rare. Number 6, ministri aquam et vinum videbunt. The ministers will see water and wine. Number 7, discipuli sui eum videbant. Discipuli sui eum videbant. His disciples saw him, or were seeing him. Technically, that eum ought to refer to someone else. Latin will use two different pronouns, depending on whether him refers to the first person that was being referred to earlier, or a new person altogether. Number 8. Discipuli sui de signo vero in deserto cognoscunt. His disciples learn about the true sign in the desert. All right, and then the last couple, because it's a long one, it's put together. Qui credit in filium habet vitam aeternam, qui autem incredulus est filio, non videbit vitam, sed ira Dei manet super eum. He who believes in the Son has eternal life, but he who is unbelieving in the Son will not see life, but the wrath of God remains on him. Notice here we have credit in filium, yet another usage for credit, and this is what happens all the time in the Vulgate, why sometimes you'll see it as we did earlier with the dative or with the accusative. Here it's with in plus the accusative. And so the rule when getting used to the Vulgate is that the rules get broken because that's what the common dialect of a language is. It's not a different language. It's a different attitude toward the following of the rules.